I make breakfast. I've always done that for the kids, school. So I make breakfast during weekdays, right? And I started doing this thing actively. So it used to be off and on. So I started doing it actively when a friend of mine, an older friend, he was just lamenting about his kids. So I was like, what did they do? He said, oh, they've left the house. I was like, well, you put them in boarding school yourself? He's like, yes, but they've left the house. By the time, I think it just dawned on him that by the time they're done with secondary school, they were going to university. And he was lamenting. I was like, why are you lamenting? You put their kids in boarding school. And he was like, but they've left the house. I'm like, wait, I don't understand. You put them in boarding school. I say, yeah, but he's built this big house. They used to run around. He had stuff to complain about, but now they've left and the house is just quiet. And he's just realized that they are going from secondary school to university and they've left. And before you know, who knows, they might start getting married and they've left. So I was like, oh my goodness. And he says, you better enjoy every second of your kids, as many things as you want to do. So I was like, oh, I need to be super intentional and enjoy every moment, and I'm quite dramatic too. So
yes, you are.
I'm quite dramatic. Sometimes they're just like, oh my God, daddy. I sing when I'm waking you up, I'm singing, there are butterfly kisses, I'm dragging you out of bed, there's a play fight. I'm quite dramatic. It's for me, it's for my own enjoyment. It's not.
What's funny is sometimes when I'm on the call with you, I find it difficult. I'm just like, Shula, concentrate on me. But I can't even say that because you're cooking. A lot of the times you're in the kitchen and your kids are there. You guys are talking. I'm like, oh my God. But I also respect it.
Yeah, like that. Daddy, where are you talking to? Oh, this is your friend. Have I met the person? Like, what's going on?
But I also like the fact that, remember that time that you were looking through like your children's personality types?
Oh, yes.
And I feel like, and there was something you spoke about swimming, how your children swim the stadium swimming pool, and all of that. There was something that happened, I can't quite remember, but I'm just like, things are happening in the physical and tangibility of things, but you're actually seeing beyond what is happening in the physical of what is going on. Like, you're understanding this child's personality type from this child's personality type. You are seeing that this is the way this child handles this and the way this child will handle the same thing but in a different manner, and you're like honoring and respecting it. Like, I love talking to you about you being a father beyond the whole cooking and everything, because you were literally present to see all the tiny little nuances here and there with your separate children.
So it's not this parenting matter. It's not by default. And like I was asking about because we had spoken about the personality product. So I was like, maybe you'd understand it. You know how we're going swimming, and you get to the pool, you're supposed to do some warm-ups and stuff before you even go wash up and then get in the pool, and your child decides, I don't want to do this. It's not in the usual, daddy, I'm feeling some type of way. It's, I don't want to do this. Why? Because people are looking at me. What? People do. And that's just an extreme. Like, are you okay? Is everything okay? I just don't want to do it. You can't go through life with, I just don't want to do it. So as a parent, you need to break your kids into, okay, there are days you won't feel like doing stuff, but it's duty, right? I'm like, okay, you know what? Just go home. But the other enjoyment thing you're supposed to do, after this, you're going to forfeit it. And the girl is like, I'm cool. That means it's deeper. Like, what? Are you okay? Did something happen to you? No. Okay, you know what? Because if you're here, I might, because don't forget that we are the sum total of our own trauma too. Childhood trauma, the way you're raised and stuff. My father didn't hate me. He usually would sought to understand us, right? Even we're not as complex as the kids now. And I'm just wondering, it's easy to think, is it just me? Am I not raising these kids well? And then I'm talking to her, I'm like, this child she's like, no, you pamper them. Why don't you do this? Sometimes I'm the one that is like, these kids are sport. And she's like, no, have you tried this? Or, something happened with her. Maybe that's what I'm like, because it's easy to react and just punish the kid. Right? And then you're like, wait, this child has done this before, has done this. There's a pattern, And then, of course, if you check, if you're sincere, if you do proper introspection, you find out that some of the traits you have them.
And you're not dealing with them, so you're lashing out. Yeah.
You know, some of the traits you have them, you're like, oh my, and then when you talk later, they might not offer anything, they might offer something, they might say, hey, daddy, I was feeling this way, or just like, I just didn't feel like doing it. Or the thing they were not supposed to, I just felt like doing it. Like, how do I deal with this long term? Because there's the real life. There's, oh, daddy can pamper me, there's mommy can pamper me. There's the real life. And then there's growing up. And then there's, oh, if I allow this thing to fester, if you keep doing this thing, it might become a character trait. And you're stuck. And then you'll be shaping for your parents. So may I ask a lot of questions. I reach out to my friends, I might not mention the child or the particular, I'm like, see. Then I run my wife, I'm like, guy, see what happens. Don't tell her, but see what happened. What do you think? The first reaction might be, this child, no. And did you punish her? Did you get her to do this? Did you get her to this? Or another time the reaction might be, guy, have you forgotten this happened? It could be this, right? Or you know what? Let's investigate. So it's tough. I wish there was a copy and paste a program. Just execute.
With kids, nah. I wanted to ask you. We've covered this entire thing without even asking. But I also wanted to ask you, what are the shame and failure that you've had to deal with as a man, and how did you navigate it? I feel like that's a hard question to ask you because you're just like enjoying life. No, but I know that
you did, but it's always in context of. There's always a context. Is shame failure as a parent, shame failure. My kid, the older kid is in boarding school. They had a dinner recently, and then we had the father dance thing. So we're on stage with other parents, and then she was like, "Oh, are you still running Converge, which is my company?
Your tech company,
or are you with a are you? Did you get a position? Like, did you take a role?" She just asked me. So I was like, "What?" She's like, "Oh, I'm just wondering what you're doing now. What have you been up to? Tell me." Right there on stage.
While you were dancing.
My daughter is shy. She didn't want to go on stage. I had to talk to her, to say, I want to have fun because I wrote a certification exam the night before and I passed. So I wanted to ball. I was a guest, but I wanted to just party. I felt good. And on stage, I was covering her, from the entire room, like, because I know she's props. And she was like, "Oh, dude, what are you doing now?" And for me,
how old is she?
She's 11.
Okay.
And for me, she does that thing where you say, "Oh, I have a headache," and then she gets back from school, and then she calls you. You're work. "Oh, daddy, how you doing? How you feeling now? Is the headache?" That's the kind of person she is. And at that point, I was like, there are a lot of things we've been doing right, but there are a lot of things we need to change. Because at that point, it was very clear to me who this child was. But if you ask me 1-2 weeks before, it was very clear to me who the child was. And you're dealing with that person with the information you have.
Yeah.
So when we got off, I was like, "What were you asking me in session?" I said, "Oh, what projects are you working on? What are you doing? I know you're always doing different things, Have you joined another company?" That's what, she wanted to know. I explained to her, she was like, "Oh," and then she patted me. She said, "You'll be fine. I trust you. You're always fine." She's 11-year-old. I'm like, and I said, "Oh, thank you, Grandma." So I said, "Thank you, Grandma." And it's the drive down. I was just like a week after I was still thinking, how do I deal? Because there's also the emergent person in the 11-year-old. I'm like, okay, this person is boarding school, releasing other people. Their real self is coming out, not the shepherded, I'm like, okay, well, she's always been like this, but she just asked. And then there were other things she asked me, the discussions we had, I was like, oh, okay. So there is no, if I now look back and say, oh, there were times I reacted in certain ways when she did some things, I would say, oh, that was a failure on my part. I didn't understand that. But I didn't know her at that point. So everything is now going to be in retrospect. Oh, I failed. Yeah. Oh, I failed on this. I failed. But it's always a learning curve. So
I love it. Tell me about your art collection.
That one, So I've been collecting art, like I would say all my life without knowing that just collecting art. It's just, oh, your friend makes this, oh, I like it.
You'll just buy it.
I'll just buy it. So another thing is, because I've always made art and people always have paid me, you know, in different forms. I understood the value of, even when people say, oh, you know, I want to give you this, I'm like, oh, I'm going to pay you something for it. If it might not be you, if you don't want the money, it might be something else, right? And then I think I started collecting actively, that calling it collecting, because an older friend of mine, Victor Hikamino, encouraged me to, right? He showed me his art collection one night, and I was like, so it was like, oh, you know, we as artists, we're telling people to buy our pieces to collect, and we're not buying
other spaces,
you know, because so I was like, oh, you know, money no deal. It was like, so when you sell your piece, what happens? I said, I go chop the money. He said, oh, no. You know, it was like, he laughed about it, and it was like, you know, he made it a point to, when he's, because he's huge, you know, as an artist, when he gets money from his collection, he always has a list of artists, young, old, whatever, that he's interested in. So when he gets money, he buys, you know, work from those people, because he believes it, you know, their work resonates with him. So I was like, okay, makes sense. And I just put it at the back of my mind, like, oh, you know, I'm gonna actively do this. At that time, I had pieces like they were in people's houses and stuff. So I was like, oh, you know what? I'm going to turn it into like a science now, right? And an art. And I just see stuff I like. It's not the value. I'm not saying, oh, I'm buying this because I'm going to sell it in 5 years.
Because you're not even that person to begin with.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'll dig into you. I like you as an artist. Are you practicing, or is this a one-off? Is this? I want to know if you have a studio. Where do you know, a bit about your motivation. I hope you're not copying somebody else's work. There's the entire thing that goes into it. And once I buy, I'm telling everybody, oh, I love this person. There's this artist you should patronize. You should buy from. I'm telling.
I don't even think it's just art. Like, if you see anything you like,
no, if you're dope. I mean, I think I'm the ultimate customer.
You are.
I've been buying people from the same person for years. I've been buying goat meat from one person. They don't argue. Shaki from one person. The plumber that does stuff for me, as far as you don't mess up.
Yeah.
I'm a loyal customer. I'm a believer, and I'll tell everybody. You know, like, oh, you want shoes? What kind of shoes? Oh, there's this friend of mine. He makes Ashoki shoes.
You're a very exciting person. I
think I get excited easily.
I think you do, but it's also a beautiful thing, because if you have more excitement than sadness, I think your life is going well for you. Like, you've chosen to say, this is who I am. I'm going to live to the fullest and be continuously happy and excited for even the mundanest thing. You don't even know how much I love you. You don't know how much I love you. And because for me, it's like, I'm also that person. But then I've rarely seen that trait in a man. You're probably the only man. Okay, maybe one or two people that I'm like, they are always excited.
I have many friends. Like,
yeah, of course. Like, yeah, many male friends.
I have many.
Bro, I don't even know what to ask you anymore at this point.
There are a couple of people too that I think we've met working together.
Yeah.
There's somebody that, yeah, I mean, I told her that if I just tell you where, you would know the person. And I was like, you're always happy. Even when I knew that she was under crazy duress, her arm was in a sling, she had broken her arm. Shasanya.
She's good people.
Like, she's always smiling. Even when she's not smiling, you can feel it radiates.
And there's this calm about her where she's just like,
and that's even on an individual level. That's one person. I know a ton of people like that. But there was a family I met. So a friend had invited me to a cookout thing for a birthday in Ikoyi. Some cuisine, you know, culinary stuff you cook and stuff. There were these sisters with their brother. And see, those guys don't need anybody else. Their world
on their own.
Oh my God, they were these kids, these guys. I said kids, they're my age. They were happy. Like, the relationship between them and everything was amazing. So I had to ask my friend, I was like, who are these people? How were they raised and everything? And she was like, I'll show you. I'll show me videos of them with their dad and their mom at different, like, she said when she's with them, like, she records, she's like, this is not real. Like, it's so, and I think it's love and the way you raise, right? I grew up on Lagos side, and there was, growing up, we had a huge community. So it's not just your family raising the community.
Extended family, and
even like your neighbor could look out for you. You're back from school. Your mom is not back. Come
to
here.
the house.
You can be doing your homework. They will feed you. You could. There was trust. There was the entire community. There were people looking out for you. And then, like I said, I was very lucky. I had 9 people giving. I've not spoken about cousins. I've not spoken about the extended family. So I had strong people to look up to. I wake up singing. I wake up from sleep singing a song. Even on like terrible days, there's always a way to rationalize stuff, right? Because that's where I'm from. And then for many of us, another thing is we don't take stock of things we've achieved. I'll give you an example. At the time when we're renovating our property to move in, I was helping a friend renovate, our library and stuff. So I was supervising that. I was doing, post-COVID, I just lost my sister. So I was just throwing myself into work. I was doing that. I was doing consulting gigs. It was just work, because I was just, and when with projects, there's a start, there's an end. When these projects were done, I was just like, what's next?
Now you have to face the reality.
So my wife was like, have you even, so I was complaining. I was just like, oh, I need to do that. And she was like, I'm taking you out. So I was like, what's the occasion? She said, no, that you've not celebrated. I was like, she said, you've not taken stock of what you just achieved. So I was like, what do you mean? She was like, you just take it like it's another project. You've moved on. Like, you don't pause to take stock. So my wife is very deep, this quiet type. So I'm a last child. She's a first from my mom, and when you're raised that way, you're like first, all the body. So, and she's super quiet, introspective, intelligent, those kind. And you don't mess with first kids. And of course, we last one, we're like running around in the crazy, making noise, doing this, breaking things, putting things where they're not supposed to be. And she's like, oh, I'm taking you out to dinner, man, right? So I was like, okay. She's like, you don't celebrate, you don't take stock of proper milestones in your life. You just move from one project to the other. It's not, that's why you're feeling this way. So I was like, oh my God. Oh, wise one. And it made sense to me. Like, we don't stop. For many of us, we've risen above our station. Way above our station. Where we are now, we can maintain that lifestyle, but we always want more. So when is it enough? Somebody goes up in the hood. They don't have a place to sleep in their house. Is the bench outside the building, no food. This person has employed plenty, a lot of people. They have properties. They have a place for their kids to rest. They're feeding people. They're even helping other people. But of course, you always have that fear, like, what if I go back to zero? I don't want that life anymore. And you just, and it consumes you. You don't even get to enjoy.
But you have.
You don't take stock. You've risen way above your station, right? You're okay. You're fine. You're doing well. You've sealed the future for you, for your kids, and all that. But you're still always in a state of panic.
Right? Is that very accustomed to men, or is it general? Because I interviewed someone recently who also feels that way. Like, there's always that fear of everything could go away.
I think it's our environment.
Right.
I believe if I had grown up in the West, business, everything, I wouldn't have bought a house or invested that much in a home. Because that money could be doing a lot of dope things for me, right? And whatever is, the yield from that could potentially either buy a house or go into some nice mortgage at some point, right? But there's too much uncertainty. So we're living in a property that we had owned for like 2-3 years before we renovated and moved in. So it was rented out and we're just quiet about it. But I lost my sister. It wasn't COVID. It was COVID era. But she had a heart condition she didn't know about, right? It just manifested. And within a short time, she was gone. She did not know. She had never been diagnosed. I think, you know, it was just, you know, she started gaining weight, certain things. She was like, oh, you know, I'm just gonna, you know, my oldest thing said on her getting checked, and that's at that time it was too late. So it changed everything, and it was for me. That was the closest person to me in the family, right? Immediate older sister, my love, you know, all those kind of things, and I believe that Raphael would live forever. You know that kind of dynamic. Oh, you think I'm a hustler? You don't know. Raphael, like this was the person. Like if I have doubts, she'd be like, Olushala, is you now. That's how it was. She's like, Olushala, kilo man share, go and do it. And what if it fails? And then it fails. You say, what if it then it fails? And she was gone. Like that. So I was like, shit, I have a family. What if it was me? There's certain things that are not in place because you think you live forever. You know, me, I don't have any fear of death. I don't have. But what happened to my sister blinded, it came like, you know, from a blind spot. Because while I don't have any fear of death and I've made my peace with it, I've never really thought about people I love dying.
It's a different concept in itself.
It's pain I would never wish on. It's an eventuality. It's either you go before them or they go, right? But it's not nice. You know, with my dad, when he died, he was old man, da 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 da. Yes, it tugs at your heart. But this person is 2 years older than me. We're still talking which day. I was at the hospital a day before. You know, certain things. So you're like, no, this person is gone. And so you just realize, wait. So it's not really about my lack of fear of death. I'm gonna go now. Let's put some things in place. Let's do certain things, right? Let's do, you know. So sometimes you just take stock, and you realize I have enough. And then, of course, there's also the sense of duty. It helps you align on everything. For me, it's duty. Sometimes there are many things I don't want to do. Sometimes I don't want to wake up and go and make pancakes. I'm like I want to sleep. But it's duty. That 5 o'clock alarm goes. You know, we're Muslims, so we get up to pray, and then the kids, and then you have to get up. You know, so it's duty. It's that you become mechanical in that side because you need to do it. It's not.